Welcome back to Scavenger Workshop. In this video, I'm going to show you how to adjust the tabs and countersink the holes in the plates here, so that way you can finish your back portion of your trap. So first thing you want to do is, when you get your part from the Send Cut Send, you want to make sure that they did the alignment process correctly, you know, because there are, in the file, there's what's called bend lines, right? And they sometimes, if they're not doing it correctly, the bend lines will be off. And if they're off, the alignment of this plate and the other plate is not going to go very well. When the alignment comes, you're going to see that it's off. It's going to look funky, like this one does. You'll have to contact them, and they'll send you another one. Just let them know. Just send them pictures of how badly it's bent. Now, I've put these little notches here, just so visually you guys can tell if it's bent, if it wasn't bent correctly. As you can see on this one right here, the bend goes right down through these two lines. So they bent it correctly here, but when you look at this one, the bend is over here and then the notch is right here, so they missed it here as well as here. The bend is way over here and the notch is right here. So when you're looking at it, this whole center thing is offset. I don't know how this passed inspection and they sent it to me, but it is what it is. I'll show you a properly bent one right here. You can see the bend is right where the notch is on this one here as well. I know that these notches, it's not ideal for you to have these notches here in a completed product, but it's better to have these notches and fill them knowing that they bent it correctly, having that visual indicator that they bent it correctly. And that way you can catch it before you start sanding and go through all this work. You can let them know that they need to resend you a new piece, right? Okay, so we're gonna use this junk one here. I don't care, I'm not even gonna bother arguing with them because they sent me two of them one time and I have an extra one, so I'm not even gonna bother with this. So what you're gonna need to do when you're bending these tabs here, if you'll notice that the tab is below the edge here, and I've done that intentionally, so when you bend it, you want to grab it at that bend mark and then come all the way down, right? So that way the actual bend is below the surface. Right, so you wanna take it all the way at that edge, right? As you can see, the bend is actually below the surface. That way, when you screw the top and bottom plate on, it's very flush, right? You don't want it to be lifted up, so you want to make sure that that bend is actually kind of going down a little bit, right? So it's easy to bend these pieces right here. You're just basically gonna grab them like that, you know, and then bend them down. Try not to bend it too far below this line, otherwise you're gonna get some undesired curling or whatever. So you can see that one's bent. That's what they're gonna look like from a front view. They're bent just so that way this is just below the surface, right? And the same thing with these. You're gonna kind of grab them like that. I have another pair of pliers that is kind of better for this. Let me see if I can grab those. So for the smaller tabs, I like to use this one here because I can grab it like this, and you just gonna kind of grab it at an angle like that. I don't know if you can see that. You see it right there? Kind of grab it at an angle and just bring it down. And then once you get it down, you can kind of straighten it out, you know? And you can kind of move it around a little bit if you have to make adjustments. If it's not straight, it's twisted, you can grab it and kind of pull it one way or another if you have to, you know. It's not going to break unless you keep going back and forth on it. But that's pretty much how you do all your tabs. And if you notice from the side view, they all look flush, right? So go ahead and bend all the tabs to where they're flush on both sides, right? And then when it's done, it's gonna look similar to this, right? Just like that. Now, for your bottom plate, all right, you'll notice that some of these holes may not line up right away because it's gonna have to pull inward, these plates, when you put the screws through them. So just be aware, you may have to wallow some of them out for the bottom plate, you know, especially on this one here, you might have to. I think I adjusted, this is an old version, by the way. I think I adjusted the newer version, so it's coming closer in that way. But just to go ahead and show you what you need to do for your bottom plate, you're gonna get your bottom and top plate. You're gonna get your, well, it depends on your top plate. I don't think you have to do it because you're gonna use rounded nuts or cap nuts. So you don't need to countersink the top plate, just the bottom plate needs to be countersunk. And let me see if I can find, here's your top plate right here with your holes for your LED and your switch, right? This one you don't have to countersink, but you will have to countersink this one. So to countersink it, you just need that same drill. We've done this before. You're gonna just in there like that, as you can see. And then as you're doing each one, you want to get your 3mm screw, push it through there, and see if it feels flush. If it doesn't feel flush, countersink it some more. Right? And then test fit it again. Right now, that's feeling pretty flush. As you can see, it's pretty flush. And then you're gonna do that for all your holes. And then once you got all your holes countersunk, go ahead and feed your screws through like this. And then put a nut on the back side right here, right? You can put some Loctite in there to keep it from coming back undone, but that's pretty much what you're gonna do for your box, right? Just make sure you countersink all 5 of these holes on the bottom. All right, so let's move on. Welcome back to Scavenger Workshop. We are going to do the assembly portion of the Ghostbusters Ghost Trap. In the previous 2 tutorials, we showed you how to assemble and glue the box. As you can see, I've sanded it. It's all the edges are smooth. It looks really nice. It's pretty solid. This is what you want it to look like at this stage. This is ready for paint. You shoot some paint on it, all these lines will disappear. It'll look really clean. The handle as well. What we did is we put the filler in these seams, that metal glue, and then we sanded it down so it looks really smooth. Once it's painted, you won't see any of these lines, right? The frame for the doors, we've got that ready. So we're gonna go ahead and dry fit all the pieces. What you're gonna have to be aware of is you're gonna have to take your metal file and file these little tabs just a little bit. You know, it's a little trial and error as you're assembling it, just so that way you know it's gonna go together flush and you're not gonna have to force it, right? So let's start with the dry fitting. Okay, make sure everything is sanded nicely, so that way when you do go to shoot some paint on it, the self-etching primer has a nice surface to adhere to. I use 80 grit because when you shoot the paint on it, it gives this older 70s style equipment look to it. You know, if you want a smoother and much finer surface, you know, you can go with 400 grit and then shoot it, but I prefer it the way it looks with the 80 grit. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna lay down your flat pieces like this. You're gonna grab your frame. You're gonna take this piece and push it through your frame, just like that, right? And then you're just gonna set it down for a moment. You're gonna take your handle piece, right? And then you're gonna push your handle piece where this tab is right here. This tab's gonna insert in here, like so, okay? Now we're just dry fitting right now, so we're making sure everything goes together smoothly. This one has another tab in it. You're gonna put that on that end, like so. And then you're gonna grab this middle piece. It goes right here. But what you're gonna notice is you're gonna have this piece here. Now, on the Rev 3, I've removed this little nut piece and opted for you guys just to put a little of that metal glue along here and then let it set. So, and if you're ordering it after this video, you won't have this little screw here, but if you've already ordered it, you'll have to put a nut in there and then get your little drill, taper it like so, and then attach it. Let me go ahead and do that real quick, so just so you guys can see. Okay, you see how I've countersunk that hole? Right? We're gonna go ahead and get one of your short screws like this. Gonna grab a 4mm nut. Sometimes you have to give it a little force to get the nut in there. Just go ahead and squeeze it in there to the point where it's center, right? You see it? And then get your screw, drop your screw in there like so, and push it in. This is the same process you're gonna do for all your parts. So I know if you guys don't have this, the newer version of this one, you're not gonna have this part right here. So we're gonna go ahead, now that you have that in here, this is just a filler piece, so that way when you drop it in, it closes out this little box section, so when you look at it from underneath, you don't see that that tab. So now that we have it, all the pieces on there, we're gonna go ahead and kind of lock them into this back piece right here, the bottom piece. Right, so you'll see that they'll fit in to these little square holes on it like that. Right, put our handle back, drop this piece in like so, And then we're gonna grab the top piece and we're gonna lay the top piece on it like this, the other side. And make sure all the little tabs line up. All right, let's see. All right, there it is. All right. Now, once you have it in there, and you've asserted that everything lines up correctly, and you're not having to force it, right? It should fit pretty solid together like so, right? So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to set it on the side. And then we're gonna countersink these holes right here and slide the M4 nuts in the back and put the short screws. You're gonna use the short M4 screws. So we have 4 of these. And 4 of these nuts right there. So it's the same process. Basically gonna wanna countersink the hole right there. And then you wanna go ahead and test fit it because you want these to be completely flush. I would even go as far as slightly below the surface. So that way when you put your side panels on, it doesn't push those panels outward, okay? And once you have it in there, slide your M4 nut in the side. You might take a little finagling to get it in there. Because these little slots are kind of tight. And what happens is when you try and push the nut in there, it tries to go in kind of diagonal because it naturally wants to use that one of the pointed ends as to drive it through. Yeah, I figured I would be fighting this on camera. All right, let me go ahead and try a different one. We're gonna go on this side here. See if we can get a nut in this side. Okay, that one seemed to have went in fine. Oh, well, I just pushed it all the way through. That's another thing too. When you go to put these outer nuts in here, the ones right here for the faceplate, before you put this handle piece on, you want to put your nuts on with these, just like this, without the faceplate on, and then hot glue the nut on the back side. Because when you're trying to, when it's all said and done and it's assembled and glued, you trying to fish those nuts through there is gonna drive you crazy. You're gonna hate me. So make sure you glue those last nuts in as a final process. Okay, I'm gonna forego this one. Let me go ahead and flip it over. I'll get that one in there off camera. Okay, there's a nut up in here. I'll have to shake it and get it out of there. All right, so let me go ahead and do this side. And the funny thing is, these tabs are all the same size. Some of them are easy to go through, and some of them are have a tighter tolerance based on the thickness of the metal, right? Don't know why, but that's just the way it is when you go water jets. So that's why there's a lot of filing that needs to be done on the tabs, because I wanted to try and get the tolerances really, really tight so it's kind of a press fit. That way you don't have a whole bunch of gaps. And from shop to shop, it comes out differently. So I actually didn't leave no room for any, you know, play in it. All right, that's the final one on this side. We'll go ahead and push this nut in here. Or not. I'm gonna fight it for a minute or so, and then I'll give up and do it off camera. Yeah, it's one that's gonna have to go. All right, anyway, so as you can see, these are glued in there, I mean screwed down in there, so everything is fitting very well, right? At this point, we have the entire assembly. So like I was saying, you can pull the handle off if you need to. You just wiggle it and it'll come off, even with it screwed together, right? So at this point, like I said, these nuts here, you want to just get the small small screw, fish your nut through, so that way it locks in place. Put your nut in, you know, hold it in there and kind of stick your short screw through the other side. Even the holes are a little tight, so I have to run the thread through. It's all because it's like little burrs are on the inside. It's hard to get those out, so you may have to pass a little 3mm drill through it or something, you know, if you had to. 4mm rather. So, as you can see, I'm screwing it down. Once you have all four sides screwed down like that temporarily on this side, just grab a little bit of hot glue and put it right there, hot gluing this nut to this wall or this wall, whichever one you choose. So that way when you take the screw back out after everything's glued together, when you go to put your side panels on, that's these here, you can screw them in. You don't have to worry about the nut falling out, right? So let's go ahead and remove this real quick. Okay, so we're at this point right here. Let's assume that we've got all the nuts in there. They're tapered in there. We're gonna put the handle back on. Okay, handle's back on. Okay, so what you wanna do is, now that you dry fit it, you've got the screws tapered in there. You want to completely take it all apart. I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to glue this one, because I may need to take it apart in the future to take additional pictures or to show someone something. So take it all apart, and then what you want to do is you want to all these little seams here where metal meets metal. You're going to put some of that metal adhesive we've used in previous episodes. This steel reinforced epoxy. Put it in all your little seams. The ones that you want to take most attention to is this one right here, where this metal piece is. You want to fill in that really good, so that way when you sand it down, it's flush. All these other ones right here, the ones with the screws in it, they're going to be hidden by this plate here when you put it on there, and the other plate that goes on here. So the only one that's really visible is this one over here. Okay, so go ahead and put your glue on, let it cure. Okay, let's assume we've done that, right? And we're at this point where we're gonna go ahead and assemble the rest of the kit. So I showed you how to assemble your box, how you're gonna countersink your holes on the bottom, right? And then pretty much get your box to this point right here. Put your screws in and screw it down, right? So the way the box works is, if you look on the underside here, your box is gonna set in this groove here. There's gonna be a nut through here, right? So that way when you do the final assemble of your back plate, which is this right here, it's all gonna fit through like that. And you're gonna put your screws through these points here. Now, if you notice on your back plate, I've put a piece of double-sided tape here. It's got like a 1 millimeter thickness to it. The reason for that is when it's all bolted down, it's gonna push this box upward, keeping this seam here flush, right? If you guys wanna glue that seam, feel free to do that. You can put some metal adhesive there and glue that seam and it'll be fine. But I didn't want to go ahead and do that because, like I said, I have to take this stuff apart again. So go ahead and put this on here. Now when you put your bottom plate on, you will have to tap it. So keep that in mind, that it's going to be one of those things you're going to need a rubber mallet for. Where's my rubber mallet? Ah, there it is over there. Got it upside down. Once you have the bottom plate on, you'll notice it's starting to look more and more like a trap, right? Let's see, let me give it a view of that, right? So there's the bottom plate. Like I said, tap it good. This one goes here. At this point, if it's all glued and together, you can go ahead and put your dog ears on. You'll notice that the dog ears has one screw hole and one hole. Let me show you on this one. It has one hole that goes all the way through and one hole that doesn't. This hole that doesn't, you're just gonna drop the smaller one of these cap screws in there and let it cure with some glue in the inside. That's just purely cosmetic. This one actually bolts the dog ears to the inside of the LED box, right? The handle, let's see here. The handle, you're gonna order the handle from Online Metals. It's 5 inches. Basically, what you're gonna do is you're just gonna get the 6 millimeter drill and drill a hole completely through it, right? And then on the top side, you're gonna get your countersink bit, countersink it like this, so that way the screw fits flush in there like that. Now, if you guys don't want to use this style screwing, I know some people, I myself, on my other trap, I use a cap head screw because it looks more like the one in the movies with the cap's head screw protruding. You guys can do that if you like, but for this particular one right here, I just countersunk it. Drive your handle all the way down through the handle you piece where you put that nut from the previous episode. Screw it all the way down. Screw it tight, and we have the handle attached, and that's firmly attached. Once this thing's all cured and painted, it's gonna look beautiful. You're not gonna see any seams. You're not gonna see any you know, leftover glue or anything. So it should look pretty nice. Okay. So at this point, we're gonna go ahead and stop right here. Next episode, I'm gonna show you guys how to set and drill your doors. I'll have the dog ears on. I'll have everything on there except for the doors. I'll go ahead and put the side plates on, because like I said, once you've hot glued them in there, it's just a matter of just screwing them on, right? And we pretty much done that, so that way you can take these doors off and you can have full access to work on your electronics when you remove these side panels. So that way when you're putting your servos in here to move the stuff, you have full, complete access, right? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop right here, and then next time when you come back, it'll be more complete, and I'll show you just the final touches, you know, to clean up the rest of the trap and make it look nice.